Hey guys, Ramblin Bob here again. So I have been lucky enough in life, through these reviews and everything, to be able to acquire 4 Bluetti PV200 solar panels. Now those are 200 watts each, so 2, 4, 6, 800 watts that you could throw on the ground like that at your campsite or something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to test the average conditions of where, you know, you just kind of toss them out on the ground. They're not going to be properly aligned. They're just going to be, as you see, when you look at them that way, you can see some are kind of this way and some are kind of that way. That's the trouble with solar panels, is they're not always going to be accurate 100%. So what I want to do is I want to have an average Joe test of 4 panels flopped on the ground during June in my state. Now, right now we have that, I don't really understand it, but it's like 175 points outside breathing air thingy. So I'm not going to stay out here very long. I'm going to go in the house and obviously run the test from inside the house. But what I want to do real quick before we get into the house is we're going to check the open voltage on these bad boys, and we're going to see kind of what we're getting. Let's see if I can aim this here. Okay, I'm filming all by myself, guys, so I do apologize. Now, how you can check the open voltage, which is called the VOC of these guys, is very, very important, because if you overdo the VOC of a solar panel into a power station or battery or a charger or something like that, you risk the possibility of breaking said item. So you get one of these guys. Now this is only good up to about 60 volts, okay? So you want to make sure that you want to stay under that voltage, because once again, you don't want to burn this little guy out. And then you have a source and a load. So a source is the source, of course. That's the easiest way to remember. So that's from the solar panels into this little meter here. Okay, so you just take these 2 bad boys from the first panel and you plop them right in here like this, and you don't have to do anything. Just plug them in and it does it all by itself. So hopefully you'll be able to see that. I know it's extremely bright out here, guys, and I do apologize. If you can't read it, I'll read it to you. It says about 23 volts, just a hair over 23 volts, okay? So now we know that this VOC of this PV200 Bluetti solar panel is about 23 volts. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go down, and then we're going to check the next one in series here. Well, not in series, just, you know, they're just laying open. Okay, just in concession, I mean. Okay, so that one, right about the same, 23.06. That's exactly the same numbers we had on the first one. So now that you know that your solar panels are working properly with the voltage, okay, and then next you check the amperage to make sure that they're able to charge things. That's the second most important part of solar panels. Open voltage means nothing if the amps don't flow, because it takes voltage times amps to equal power. So you take the third one here, third one in a row here, okay, and you check it. Now this is 23.15. Hopefully you can see that. If you can't, like I said, I'll read them to you. Boy, it is. You see the sweat on my hands? I've been out here for 10 minutes, guys, 10 minutes, and I'm literally sweating. It has got to be every bit of 85 plus in my state, plus we have that crazy Canadian wildfire going on that's completely leaving this weird haze over the entire state. It's crazy. So hopefully they'll be able to deal with that pretty quick. Maybe that's even something that they could use a power station for, to, you know, to keep the houses going and everything, so everyone can stay safe in life. Because when it comes down to it, guys, when it comes to your family, bottom dollar, it's not about money, it's not about anything other than safety. You want your kids to be safe at night, and you want your wife to be safe at night, and you want you and your house to be safe at night. So a power station could really help in a time like this, where the electrical lines are, you know, the grids are shut down possibly because of this, you know, the fire. Who knows how big and bad that fire is going to get. I guess it's terrible already, and my heart goes out to all those people out there that are affected by it. And even in the States here, I mean, like I said, there's people here that, like if you have asthma and stuff, they're really getting affected by it because they're breathing in that horrible air. Like I said, I'm not going to be out here very long. But I'm doing this in the name of science, because I think something like this would really come in handy for emergencies, obviously. Okay, so this one is 22.79. Now notice that this one is just a little bit, yeah, a little bit less than the other 3. Now that could be very simple, as if you look at it, I don't know if you can see it here, let's take a peek at it. You can see that that one is kind of aimed a little bit more up in the hills of North Carolina. They call it sly-goggling. That's when it goes like this, you know, when a road or anything is all goofy like that. But that one there is kind of goofy. So that one is putting out a little bit less, and that's normal, because the panels will never be 100% the same all the time. I mean, those two panels were perfect, but then these, as you can see, the pattern of these two, they're a little bit more angly, you know. It's kind of hard to see. I have a very small camera. It's a little GoPro 7, so I'm trying to do my best, guys. All right, so then what we're going to do is we're going to connect these in what's called series parallel, okay? So let's go back to the first two. And what we're going to do is we're going to take one of these guys, okay? So these connect the positive and negative of solar panels together. So we're going to use those at the end of the run, okay? So how to make these series parallel? Well, you take one of them, that's going to be your positive, and I'm going to do the same pattern over and over. You take the positive one and set it here, you take the negative one and you put it to the positive of this side, and then you have the negative and the positive ready to go, okay? So we'll set those over there. We have these two ready to go, and then those two and the other two gets hooked to these, and then these two go to the power station. So now we're going to do the same pattern, and you always want to make sure that you do the same pattern, and you always want to test the voltage to make sure that you have them hooked the same, okay? That's a very important thing. So we're going to take the positive and set it over here. That's on spaghetti the wires here. I think I spaghetti them more. Okay. All right, there we go. So we're going to take the positive and leave it over here. Then we're going to take this negative and go to this positive of this panel. Okay, and then we're going to take this negative, flop those over there. We're going to take this negative and this positive, and we're going to put them over here. So now you have two positives and two negatives. Now, it's getting easier because as you eliminate the wires, we started with 8 and now we're down to 4. So that's pretty easy, right? So now you have 4 wires, which you have 2 of these guys. These are like combiners, sorry. So basically you can take your 2 negatives and you put it into this bad boy here, okay? And then you take that negative and put it in this bad boy. So now you have 1, see? So you're basically going from 8 all the way down to 2. And now you have your positive here. Boy, it is hot out here, guys. Holy cow. Sweating like a dog. Okay. So you take the 2 positives, and now you have both of your negatives on this run and both of your positives on this one. See how easy that was? Now, to double check and to make sure, safety is extremely important when it comes to electricity. There's really no room for error, because an error could mean you burn down a house or something. You don't want to do all that, or blow up your battery or whatever. Just, it's safety first, guys. Don't trust anything I say. Research for yourself. Okay, so I go negative into this one and positive into this one, and now this turns on, and notice that we're coming in at about 45.34 volts. I'm sorry, 45.34. Yeah, it's hard to see this out here, guys. It's so bright and so hot. So now that you know that these panels are hooked up accurately together as a team, so those 2 over there, those 2 are going to be together as series, okay, like one big panel, and then those 2 are going to be together as one big panel, and then they both all kind of wind down into these 2 bad boys here. Then once you have them checked and verified to make sure that your voltage and your positive and negative is all good and correctly established, you take your line that's going to go into the power station. In my case, this is going to go into my house. I'm going to run it through the window. It's just too hot and too, I think, unsafe to be out here for a very long time. So you take your 2 positives and put them in there, and then you take your 2 negatives and put it in there, and there you go. You have your series parallel that allows you to bring 4 little panels and make it 2 large panels, and that'll charge a power station. All right, guys, I'm gonna hop inside real quick. I'm gonna stop the video, and then I'll see you in a few seconds. Okay, guys, welcome back. Now I'm inside the workshop here, and oh boy, it is, I'll tell you what, boy, my heart goes out to all those people affected by that wildfire. It is hot as a dog. Now, I've cut down trees in my life in 110-degree weather, 50 feet off the ground with no wind, and you want to talk about heat. I've worked in blast tunnels for major corporations that build motorcycles, and that was 100 and probably 15 or 120 degrees. And it brings back memories, and now you have that haze fog that's kind of lingering over everything, that's just making it worse. So once again, my heart goes out to anyone that's affected by this tragedy, and hopefully we can fix this as quick as possible. Hopefully. Man, yeah, it's terrible. Okay, All right, now on a positive note here, okay, we're back in the workshop here, and we're going to test now. The power coming in right now is off my main two runs. On this one, I have an Acopower series parallel, the same as I showed you outside. That's 800 watt array. I have 4 panels running into this one for 800 watts. Now, of course, you cannot get 800 watts in because these on this E2000 LFP limits you at 600 watts. So even if I, pushed 800, it would, kind of taper it down to only 600. But I'm using this one because this is the largest input that I have for a power station with the best screen, so you can see it really clearly. I want you guys to see the actual power coming in. And then this one is 6 Thunderbolt 100 watt monocrystalline panels. Those by far, for cheapy panels, guys, are the #1 panel that I have ever found anywhere. For rigid though. As far as so far the ones I've tested for fold up, I've tested 3 different companies already, and by far as power and weight, now that weight is a big thing. These are the most balanced, powerful solar panels that I have tested to date. Now, of course, hopefully there'll be many more down the road, but so far these Bluetti PV200s are perfect because of the weight and the power that they produce. And when you put them together in series and up that voltage, you can double that power and have more power, like we're going to do with this test. Now we have 800 watts of solar, and we're going to see what we bring in. I do like other panels because of the size difference. Bluetti also has like that 420 volt, but it's very heavy, guys. It's very heavy, so it's like 45 to 50 pounds. So the problem with that is, if you're an older folk, like me, or just an average or older folk that's out there that's getting into this and want to take it camping, 45 to 50 pounds sometimes is a hard struggle to carry those. And when you put one in each hand, right, because if you carry anything one-sided, you ever notice that your body really does not like that? Your body likes to be balanced when you carry heavy loads like that. Otherwise, you risk down the road, you risk hurting your back or hurting your arm or your shoulders or your rotator cuffs, all kinds of stuff. But these are pretty nice as far as the power and weight, and I always look at both of those when I look at panels, because power is not everything, guys. If I have a 1,000,000-watt panel and I can't pick it up, it doesn't do me any good for mobile, right? So I always look at both sides. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to test. This is the string that's coming in. This is the line of the series parallel that's outside with the 4 PV200 Bluetti solar panels, the foldable ones. And we're going to go in, what side do you remember, the load or the source? That's right, the source, of course. It's kind of like a Dr. Seuss thing, but you'll never forget it. If you do that little rhyme, you'll always remember the source, of course, comes from outside or whatever you're hooking up. Okay, now notice that the voltage, and you can see a lot better in here, the voltage coming in is 45.16 to 44.72. It goes up and down depending on the weather, of course. Now you can always check this voltage with this power, because this power, remember, this is 1,400 watts of solar right here, and we're only getting just up to 600 watts. And he's 7, so the sun's coming back out. And obviously the sun comes and goes, and then we're dealing with that crazy wildfire up in Canada. So now we're up to 700. This, at this time of the year, usually gets up to about 1,100 watts. Just to give you a reference of starting point of what kind of power I'm normally bringing in on a traditional day. And then that way we can use that mathematical equation to see if this is pretty equal and fair. Okay, so let me unhook this one. Okay, let's unhook the source, of course. And remember, guys, it's always a good idea. I know I don't do it all the time. That's because, well, partly I'm an idiot. But you always want to be safe, and you want to have these a DC cutoff switch. Now, under 48 volts is usually very, very safe. However, you still really should have a DC cutoff, or unplug the lines from the solar panels before you start hot swapping stuff. And I know I do it a lot, and I yell at myself for it all the time. My wife yells at me all the time. But oh, see how it drops down? Oh, and now it's going back up. So now we know what to expect. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull out, let's put an adapter on here first, because we need a special adapter for this Pecron. Now the nice thing is, when you go from company to company, you're getting a more realistic test, because this company and Bluetti don't work together. So, and I don't work for either one of them. I'm just a middle guy that bought some technology and fell in love with it, and now I'm testing it. So now that it's up to 7, let me turn that off. Let me unplug these here. Okay. All right, then I'll show you another little trick that I do that kind of helps keep everything cool. Okay, so notice that it dropped down to 0, of course, which is a horrible sight to see when you see the sun outside, because that means you're not getting any power in, right? That's the whole point of solar. So I'm going to plug this bad boy into number 1, okay? And then I'm going to close number 2. The reason I close them is just for safety, just a little bit of safety. Like I said, I do hot swap stuff from time to time, which is a bad idea. I don't recommend you do that, guys. Everything on this channel is an opinion. Okay, so now we have 800 watts of solar coming in from those Bluetti, and we're going to see in real time kind of what we have as far as what's coming in. All right, and remember, these are just flat. Now, the other ones were aimed at the sun. I have one array that's aimed almost perfect to the sun and one array that's flat. But notice we're getting over 50% already, and that's just flopped on the ground. So we're going to see maybe in the next, I don't know, a couple of minutes, we'll see what that does. If it goes up or down or sideways or whatever it does. We'll see what you would get if you were in a bad situation and your power went out, or, you know, God forbid that Canadian thing that's going on now. I mean, you know, a lot of people are possibly without power because, you know, you have to turn off those electric lines when you have power like that. Like, you know, the wildfire power. I mean, that will destroy everything in its path, and that's horrible. That's horrible. But we're up to 466 watts, so we'll just watch it in real time. Let me turn off my voltage there. Yeah, but, you know, like totally, man, it's just, it chokes me up, because if anyone's family is ever in a situation like that, where it's a fire or a flood or a tornado or a hurricane, or, you know, who knows? I mean, this planet has thrown many curveballs at us human beings over the last, you know, billion years or whatever it was, you know. Nobody knows how long we've been here, but just to have a curveball like that in life and have something like this, or those panels that are portable, though you can just, you know, put them out when you really need them, is really, really a godsend, because who knows what the heck could happen in the future, you know. So that feeling of safety is always good for me and my family, because ever since I learned about this stuff, I mean, I can take this power station or that one or the Bluetti or the other one, and I could throw them in my RV or van and take all my portable panels, and boom, I'm gone in, like, you know, maybe 20 or 30 minutes. Everything's packed up and I'm gone. If a situation like that, you know, fire were to happen in my neck of the woods. So it's always good to be prepared, of course. All right, so we're at 470 about, and we'll just watch it in real time, like I said. And remember, these are flat. What I'll do is I'll do one more, and I'll put the legs up and aim them at the sun, and then you can see the difference to see if these panels are right for you, or the situation is how you're going to use them. You know, like a lot of people might go camping and they don't set them up, they just flop them on the ground, right? And you're going to lose a lot of power that way, potentially, because depending on where that sun is, of course, you want to get a perfect angle, 90 degrees to the sun. So if the sun is here, you want to be directly here. You want to be perfect 90 degrees right at the sun. And then, of course, like this as well. So it's a two-way street. First you have to go this way, right? Name it right at the sun, 90, and then 90. So 90 and 90. That's right, perfect center. And zero in on that sun, because that's what's giving you your power. And they call them sun chasers. I used to be one, I'll be honest. You guys probably were too at one time. You ever notice that when you first get into this technology, you put a solar panel outside, whether it's a rigid or a foldable one, and then next thing you know, you're finding yourself running outside, literally, to move the solar panel, about that much or so, just to follow the sun, because your power drops down 100 watts, or depending on whatever you're bringing in, it drops down a pretty good chunk. So you're always out there running around the backyard, learning how to, you know, reset. Like, they have those automatic trackers, which are really nice. And what those are is like a little robot that looks and finds the sun and then follows it throughout the whole day. I don't have one of those. I'm not lucky enough to get one of those yet. That would be awesome to try something like that, where, you know, you don't have to be that sun chaser anymore. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause the video again, if I could. And I apologize for the pauses. I just don't want it to be a lot of dead air. I'm a sound guy, so I don't like dead air. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stack them all up at approximately maybe 45, maybe even less, in between 25 and 45 degree angle towards the sun, and we'll see what kind of power we get in now. Notice that it dropped down, so obviously the sun is struggling. So this is a perfect time to do it. That way the power is lower, and then we can aim them and see what we get. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, guys, hold on. Okay, guys, back. That only seemed like 1 second for you, but it seemed like 100 years for me. It is hot outside. Have I mentioned it's hot outside yet? Okay, so now I have them hooked up and aimed. They're not aimed perfectly, of course, because that's foldable solar panels, guys. You're never, ever, ever going to get all of them in a perfect angle. So as you see, the power goes up and down. Right now we're dealing with the clouds and the crazy smoke coming from the Canadian wildfires, of course, I mentioned earlier in the video. To give you a reference as far as the power now, that's 800 watts series parallel, just a reminder, PV200 panels, and it's only getting 25% of the power, and that has obviously to do with the clouds and the smoke, but we're going to let it go because obviously the clouds and smoke, it comes and goes, you know what I mean? So as you can see, it's starting to go up. So what I use as reference now, because I had the other ones, I have my ACOUCOU here, and what that one's doing is this panel usually gets about 125 to 150 watts from this panel. This is kind of like a auxiliary input that I just have one 200 watt panel on it, and notice it's only getting 25% of the power off that, and that's obviously laid flat on a mobile device, so you can see that that one's struggling too. So it's definitely not the PV200. So what we'll do is maybe I didn't pick the best day to do this test, so obviously I'll have an updated test, but we're hoping we get a patch here where the clouds kind of move out of the way, but the entire skyline looks very, very not happy, and that's hard to tell whether that's storms coming in or part of that wildfire. I mean, it's taken over our whole country almost. It's crazy. Like they're getting that smoke all the way to Europe now, I read in the news, and that's so crazy that a fire can go that far. I suppose when you think about it, when you're camping, if you have just a small little bonfire, you know, that game warden or that DNR guy, you know, they can smell that fire miles away, and you know, they kind of track you down of where you are hunting or wherever in the woods or fishing, because they can smell that downwind a long way. That, like, animals always know that, you know, your presence is near, because obviously they can smell a human scent of they have better noses than we do. But I suppose when you look at it in perspective, that wildfire in Canada is huge. It is huge. And that obviously is going around possibly, who knows, the entire world, that big cloud. So if you guys ever watch, you know, the fireworks, my favorite time's coming up, the 4th of July, right? And when the firework goes up and it pops and then it leaves that big smoke, look how long that smoke trail lasts in the sky. I mean, it's all the way across the sky for a long time. So smoke is really bad for you, obviously, for obvious reasons, of course. But back to the testing here. We're still at only 25% input on this bad boy. Just a hair over 25% on a 200 watt panel. And remember, this is an 800 watt array with 4 PV200s on it. So we're going to give it a try again here. And of course, guys, like everything, real-time testing, it can be a pain in the butt because so many curveballs get thrown your way. Notice that when I went out and I set them at a better angle towards the sun, of course, the clouds and the smoke came in. That's just my luck, I guess. I don't know. But you can see this one. So, yeah, see, down to 50. So you can see it's still dropping. And this one doesn't really do enough. Like, I suppose it could do the open voltage at 45, but the cutoff of this one, I think it's 48. I think it's, yeah, 48. So I didn't want to test wrecking this power station, just in case if you have a power surge. I like to always stay under the max VOC for safety. I don't care what anyone says. I like to keep a little bit of headroom just to make sure that, you know, this is a $1,000 box here and that's a $1,000 box, and I don't want to wreck them because of hooking up a solar panel and it having a bad day or you know, whatever would have happened. But I use that as my guide now. So when that gets over 100, we know that the sun is good. Now back to this one. Notice it went down all the way to 140. But now what you're getting, though, is a real-time test. If it is like a cloudy day, you're seeing the bare minimums of probably what you would get if you had 4 of these panels hooked in series parallel. Now notice it's starting to go up just a hair, but not much. So I think we'll give it a few more minutes. If it doesn't bounce up, oh, see, that's going up a little bit. If it doesn't bounce up, what I'll do is I'll pause the video for a little bit until hopefully the sun will come out a little bit more. You know that Annie song, the sun will come out tomorrow? Okay, well, we need it to come out today. So if you guys sing that song for me, maybe we can get this to work today and I won't have to do it tomorrow. But this is the only time I have off, and I wanted to, you know, put this out there to help everybody learn more about this stuff. Like I said, everything I say is just my opinion, but I always like to help people when I can. I think if the rest of the world was like that, I think we'd be in a better situation than what we're in now, for sure. Okay, so all right, let's wait a few more. I don't know. Let's maybe 1 or 2 more minutes, and then if it doesn't, I'll pause it, wait about 15 or 20 minutes, and then restart the video, restart the test, and see if the sun will come out tomorrow. Right? That Annie song. Okay. All right. 163, 162. Now notice that this one over here is dropped down to 46. Now remember, that's a 200 watt panel, guys. That's supposed to be bringing in 200 watts max, and that's only bringing in, excuse me. Boy. Yeah, guys, do yourself a favor. Don't go outside in that weather today. Holy cow. It feels like and tastes like, literally, you're standing next to a bonfire, which is not always the best of things to do. So if you don't have to go outside, guys, don't go outside. If you don't have a review channel and you're testing stuff, don't go outside and test stuff. You know, I did it just for, it was a spur of the moment thing, and I had some time off, so I thought I'd do it. And then obviously after I got everything set up, I remembered that they have that some kind of index says 175. Now I don't know what that means, but obviously it's not healthy for you. So don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, it's probably as healthy as drinking soda pop, but I like soda pop. So, all right, let's see what we got. 45 watts coming at 44 over there, and we got 158 here. Yeah. So what I'll do is I'm gonna pause the video, guys, for a little bit, and hopefully that Annie song will work. Maybe we'll go outside and sing it, me and my wife and my cat all together, the Rambling Bob choir out there, and we'll sing that the sun will come out today. You know, and hopefully we can continue this test. If not, I'll come back and let you know either way that either it's the same or the sun came out or the sun went even further behind the clouds. All right, guys, I'll be back, okay? All right. Okay, we're back again. It's been about maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and I noticed that it's starting to go up just a little bit. As you can see, that's at 270 plus now. And my test subject over here is at 70, about 70, 65 to 70 watts. Remember, that's a 200 watt panel. So we're a little bit over 30, 35%, maybe even 40% getting up to. So I was hoping that the timing was right, and then we can see this bad boy in real time here. Notice, oh, 300. All right, let's do it. Come on. Sun. The sun will come out tomorrow. Come on, or come out today. All right, and like I say, if it doesn't do it this time, I'll pause the video and I'll wait again. But I only have a little bit of time before I got to go to work. As all of us do, we got to go to work in life. And I wish I could stay here and review these darn things all day. That would be a heck of a job. And maybe, who knows, maybe one day if the channel gets big enough, guys, with enough support, maybe I can end up doing that. Fingers are crossed, seriously. I'd love to do that. Okay, so we're at 273. Remember, that's at 800 watt array, 4 PV200s in series parallel from Bluetti. And we're going through a Pecron system. Now the system usually has no effect on the panels, but we want to see what those panels would get on like a competitor system. That's the whole reason for this test. All right, so we're up to, oh, now it just dropped down, 67% or 67 watts out of 200 over there, and we're at 264. I'm going to check out the window real quick here. Yeah, it doesn't look very sunny. It looks like it's trying to. That darn smoke from that fire and the clouds, and then the typical haze that you'd get over a major city. Our city probably has close to 1 million people in it, and hopefully we'll not end up like California one day, because their smog out there is just, ooh, it's rough. All right, we're down to 60 watts input over there, and 250, 260 here. But like I said, what this test does, guys, is, you know, you're not going to get perfect weather usually ever. I mean, a whole day of perfect sun seems to be so rare now, guys. It's like finding the leprechaun's gold at the end of a rainbow, which I've never found yet, but I'm still looking. It was going back up a little bit. So what this does is, if you were camping and you had, you know, a little bit of rain, a little bit of overcast, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, God forbid, a little bit of wildfire going on, this gives you a real-time accurate information pull as far as what you could expect to see, you know, in your real setting rather than a test setting. even though this is outside in a real setting, this is obviously a controlled environment now, because I get to pick the time I do a test. And when an emergency happens, you don't get to pick the time that the emergency happens. You literally have to go with the flow and basically pull out all the stops just to get through an emergency situation, or even a camping situation, guys. If say bad weather came in and you needed some power because you needed to power up a CB or a radio, or even a ham radio if you have a license for that, and call for help somehow. I mean, who knows? Ham radio can go around the entire globe. That's a crazy powerful tool. Talk about a technology in itself. I mean, ham radio was, I used to be certified in high school, and I kind of let that lapse over the year, but how many of you guys are certified ham operators? I always wondered if anyone still really engages in that activity. In the 80s, it was a really, really big thing, in the late 80s, and it probably still is. It's just I faded away from it, because when I got my original ham operator license, you had to do Morse code translation within a certain amount of time. Like, you get 1 minute, and then you have to translate so many beep 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 beep. The signal, if you will. And boy, I missed that. And it's crazy that you'd flash back, 30 some years to high school, to where you can remember a test like that. But obviously you have to re-up your ham license all the time, and I never did. It was just kind of a thing where I thought it was fun as a hobby. I could never afford the ham radios because they're so darn expensive, especially in the 80s when I was a teenager. They were a ton of money for a ham. Now you can get a ham a radio for next to nothing compared to what it used to be. But the power of that technology is, see, I'm rambling again, guys, and I apologize, but the power of that technology of a ham radio, that you could talk to people on the other side of the globe, like a phone call, that in itself is absolutely amazing. And to show the feat that humans have accomplished in the last 100 years of technology, it's unbelievable. I mean, now we got Elon up there. He's doing whatever he's doing with the spaceships and going to Mars and ending up in Pluto and going swimming on Saturn, or whatever he's got planned. This is really the time, guys. As much turmoil as we're going through in the world right now, this is really an exciting time to be alive, because of all the advancements. And of course, there's drawbacks to advancements of all the craziness going on in the world. But just to see the technology now that we dreamt of as kids reading in comic books, with the Star Trek, with something simple as a communicator or a flip phone. Now we had that. We had the flip phones. You guys remember those? I still remember the T300 from T-Mobile, one of the first flip phones I ever had. And you flip it open, the same as Captain Kirk did on the Enterprise. So I mean, all this technology of dreaming and everything really can end up in a very positive and powerful situation, as now I can power my entire home, if I wanted to, on a battery. That was not even a theory when I was a kid. It was thought of as a teenager, but when I was a kid, this stuff was not even dreamt of, at least in my neck of the woods. It's crazy. All right, well, it went down, as you guys can see. It dropped down to, again, that 50 some watts, which that tells me that panel is only pulling in 25% of its rated output. So obviously it's fair, because this one is only pulling, if you do the math, 25% of the 800 rated watts. So I'm going to pause it again, and what I'll do is hopefully we'll sing that song again, guys, and hopefully the sun will come out a little bit. But if it doesn't, I'll end the video here, and then you guys know that the sun did not come back and Annie's song did not work. So I'll have to make some phone calls and see what I can do. All right, guys, be safe. And if I come back for another part of this video, I'll see you soon. And if I don't, I'll see you again and ramble on. Okay.